I'm a millionaire and here's exactly how I structure my money. Fuck, I love starting these videos with I'm a millionaire. I don't even, yeah, anyway, probably get the people watching. Anyway, someone's asked me about how do I structure my money, and gonna be honest, like I don't even really know what that question means, but here's sort of what I do with my money. Now, let's go back years ago when I would blow all of the cash that I would get. That's probably better. I've always made good money right from a young fella. Like I started doing a pamphlet delivery, then working in a Foursquare. You know, you got no rent back then. I worked in a meatworks, I worked in a distribution centre. I always worked in roles where I was paid well. Well, I thought I was fucking earning heaps, and it certainly felt like it. And then I would just blow the rest, like start drinking, buying stuff, and yeah, I don't know. I think I started saving, and then I bought my first shares at 17, and then yeah, it was probably more treated it like gambling, and then would put it in, take it out and stuff. So I sort of like build up some funds. But anyway, basically my habits were earn, live nicely, and then know that I should be saving, but then not really take it seriously and do that properly. And so then I got into the debt, you know, consumer debt, credit cards, gym visas, like you name it, man. I have clocked it. Credit card transfers, like I know everything, well, did know everything there was to know about personal and consumer finance back in the day. And somehow what I was making was never enough, which is just ridiculous given the fact that I was on 80 grand when I quit my job, and I saw the other day the average salary on Trade Me is like $74,000 now. So I was always earning good coin because I was working in areas where I was valued, and I somehow sort of figured that out as I went. And you know, working even a freezing works and a distribution center and stuff, you do get paid well, and there's overtime opportunities and stuff. So I was just racking and stacking. But anyway, I would blow that, and then eventually I wanted to start taking my money seriously. So in my 20s, and I actually started to like stack some cash and whatnot, but I would sort of always hover. I did buy a house at one stage and then sold that, and then, you know, the same thing again. Like I built up some equity in that, but then blew that. So I got all the way back to zero, like broke in my 20s, and negative net worth, so then more consumer finance and stuff. But eventually I'm like, look, enough is fucking enough, right? Like, let's roll. And I think the cool thing is that I went back to broke, so I had to rebuild from scratch. And I went back to like no income because I quit my job. I started a business. I thought that would just hiss and hum, but it's not really how it works. So shout out to anybody that is building something from scratch or has. Like, I feel you. I know what that's like. People will, you know, they will never know what you go through, and they will, sometimes I say to my partner, and she's amazing, I'm like, you missed the fucking hard years, girl, because you just weren't here for them when I was sleeping in my car the odd time, staying at home, up at 4 a.m., home at 9 p.m. and shit. Like, you didn't get to see some of that, and sleeping on the side of the road in my car. There's just, anyway, there's so many memories, but who gives a shit? It's part of like what you have to do, but hopefully not. But it was part of what I had to do because I was building something that was taking ages to build. Anyway, I could see that I was going to start making better money, and I'm like, I do not want to fuck this up again and repeat all these cycles that I've done from 16. I think I started earning money in like 13, 14, right through to like, let's say probably 26 at this stage. So what I started to do is I started to map out how much money I was going to make in the future, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to play that? So what I did is I would say, okay, I'm going to get $4,000 a month. Now I'm going to put 40% of that straight aside into savings. And instantly, I know some of you would be like, 40%, you can't do that. Well, you can't, I did. So now what? Sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, stop looking for reasons why you can't do things. Like, learn from people's lessons. So this is what I did. So 40% straight aside, and then I'm like, okay, I've got 60% left. These are my expenses. And I'm like, holy shit, man, I'm fucking broke. This sucks. And then I'm like, okay, what if I make 5 grand a month? Okay, cool, I put $2,000 aside. Now I've got 3 grand. I'm like, oh, this absolutely, what the hell? This doesn't work. And what it forced me to do is, as I started to actually make that, then I had to live off of that 60%. And I meet young people who their parents have told them 10% to KiwiSaver, live off the 90. They know no different. And they're like, sweet, they get to buy their first home. They're like, holy shit, I got a massive deposit. Like, how'd this happen? They're like, well, it's just normal to them. So anyway, I was trying to teach myself that it could be done. But if you said to me years ago when I was living on credit card finance and shit, oh man, just save 40% of your income. I'd be one of you guys in the comments being like, you can't fucking do that. What a dick, man. You're out of touch. Fucking chill out, man. Just, yeah, anyway, but that was me. Like I definitely, so I can relate to some of you, you'll get there. Just be open-minded. Anyway, so 60% was what I was allowed to live off. And what it did is it meant that I started to like slowly put some cash aside, and I mapped it right out to like, wow, I wonder if I could get paid 10 grand a month, after paying tax. What would that be like? Man, there'd be 4 grand that just goes. Then I'd have 6K. How good is this? And I had to live at home whilst I couldn't afford my rent, and then I went house sitting as well. So I spent well over a year house sitting. So I was trying to figure out how to not pay for living in this country. And I found it because my brain went looking for a solution. I didn't know about house sitting. I figured it out somehow, because when you start looking, when you have a goal and when you start looking towards how to achieve something, your brain starts to help you. So for some reason, my brain was like, oh, you're trying to live for free. Have you looked at house sitting? I'm like, house sitting? Okay. Oh, whoa, shit. Next thing I'm living in fucking Waiheke, all around Auckland. Unbelievable. And some like apartment just around here actually as well. So anyway, then I got to a point where I could, afford to pay rent and stuff again. And as soon as I could do that, bang, I went and did it. And I'm pretty sure I went backwards in terms of my savings, but I'm like, I need to go. So I moved into the city and I did it to buy my time back. I never forget, I was at the Les Mills, I saw this apartment become available, I was stretching, I messaged the landlord and I'm like, I can come there now and have a look. And they were like, oh, okay. I went there and I'm like, yo, signed. Tiny shitbox, I shouldn't say that, but 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm like, man, it was so expensive. It was like 600 and something a week. And I'm like, this for me is me buying my time back, because I knew like traveling every day and this house sitting thing was starting to become a real hassle. And it was now worth me spending the money to buy my time back, to stop all that travel so that I could do more work, I could focus, and I could get shit going, because my accounting business was like starting to roll by this stage. So anyway, over those years, my income has increased. And so what I've tried to do is basically move 40% aside and continue to live off of the 60. And as I've earned more, that's become easier to do, let's say, but it still keeps you broke for a long way. Because even when you make 10 grand a month, then you've got 4 gone straight away, and then you have 6,000 left over, which is still, good net tin in this country. But, obviously your life starts changing, you start doing different things. But to summarize, or to like tell you what I do, so I still do this even years into it. When I get paid, I have 40% go straight away into investments. And that might be different funds. I did a video on what I invest in. And sometimes I might just like build up to 10 grand, then like boom, go and buy a fund or shares or whatever with the 10 rack. But that's my like ammo, 40% carved off. And then I started to add more income streams as well. And so then what I do is I map out what money do I have coming in, what money do I have going out. And the first line in that is basically, okay, 40% of any of that income, what is that? It has to be deployed. So deploy it towards investments, towards your future, towards your goals. So then I'd start contributing more to KiwiSaver. I'd start putting money into funds. I'd start playing around with crypto. I'd start, investing in some different things. But meanwhile, my 40% of my big chunk, I'll be like, right, that is like building and building and building and building. And they'll be like, right, I'm going to deploy $100,000 into a Pi fund, for instance. Okay, now we're at 50. I'm going to put $50,000 into that same fund, or park that over here. And that just forced me to live off of less. But what I would also do is, as I earned more, when I would get dividends from my business, and still do. So I might get a chunk, and I'm like, it's got to go, bro. It's not 40, it's 100. So I might get like a 10 grand one-off payment, for instance, or $1,000, and I'm like, it's got to go, bro. Like, get it done, go. And so I just deploy it straight away, because the longer you hold it there, you're then not wanting to let go of it. So I found that works pretty good for me. And I automate everything. So basically, I have every week and I've only actually been doing this I'm coming up 2 years. Am I 2 years or 1 year? No, I'm pretty sure I'm up to 2 years doing this. So like every week, we got crypto, we got funds, we got extra KiwiSaver, we got share platforms, just like bang, 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 like going out. And then I'm getting these emails each week, like your auto investment has been successful. I'm like, boom, another one. I'm just like stacking. For me, it's a victory, tick, and I'm staying consistent, and I'm not running out of money, but I'm trying to keep myself broke-ish, even though I know that I've got that cash there. But when I log into my internet banking, there's not heaps there. I've had times where there's heaps there and I'm like waiting to deploy, but I don't need to see heaps of cash there. And I know that my future self will thank me because I'm, looking after myself by deploying that. If I kept it there, my old self, what it did is be like, well, maybe I can buy that $5,000 thing or whatever. And that's how I would like run into trouble and just end up back at 10,000 bucks in savings. But what I originally did to stack my 100K, if you haven't watched that video, is I would give my money to my sister. So I'd take the 40% and ping it straight to her. So we'd like automate, gone. And then I say to her, like, do not give that back to me unless there's a mega emergency, until I could trust myself that I could be someone who could save 100K. So that was part of my journey as well. That sort of slots in there for that first 100K. But what else do? I sort of like to do weird shit like, I got a water bill the other day and it's 130 bucks. And because my time and my brain are really, it's my most valuable thing that I have, I paid 500 bucks against it. So I do shit like that because I don't want to fucking pay that bill for the next 3 months. I want that to come in. I'm like, oh great, I got a credit. So often I'll then buy my time back by decreasing my point of admin by, paying. And then some people are like, oh, well, you could have just set up an automatic payment or whatever. Cool, man, I'm just telling you what I do. It's all good, bro. Like, sweet, man, just chill. But you have to manually pay that one. It's old school and it's ugly. But just on that, like, always check the things that you have to pay. Because, man, some people sneak some shit in there at times. And you're like, yo, if I didn't check this, I would have missed this. So I'm sort of across my finances. I track all of my incoming and my outgoing. I run my, my life as a business. So I do individual work and stuff. So I will have forms of income, but I have all my expenses. So I see them all and reconcile them all off through Xero. I've done that for years and years now, but that's not for everybody. But definitely if you get into business and stuff, it's something to think about. But what else do I do? So yeah, like paying things in advance so I don't have to do them. I try to like unsubscribe from all of my mail. You don't want to check your letterbox. What do you want to do that for? It's a waste of time. And it's just like another reminder, oh, there's something from Genesis. What do I, like, no. Make all of that shit electronic so you don't have to check your letterbox, and try and set it all up on direct debit or pay slightly in advance so that you're not then having to think about that stuff. Because you don't, like, the less you have to think about money, the better. We want to try and automate as much of it as possible because we want to preserve our thinking for positivity and for growth and for action and for making more and for feeling good and things like that, rather than like, oh, another bill, oh, I haven't paid that one, oh, I thought I paid that one. That's stress, that's anxiety, that is, oh, how am I going to pay it this week because I had to pay for that unexpectedly. We want to try and tidy up as much of that shit as we can. So that's sort of like the journey that I went on a number of years ago. And so that stuff's easier for me to wash over because it is quite automated and stuff now. But yeah, I try and live off 60, allocate 40, allocate 100% of my like bonus amounts that I get. But I also like to give. And as I've earned more, like a lot of this stuff that I now do is me giving back. And I spend, oh man, like, I don't know, probably $70,000 a year running a podcast, and then the opportunity cost of what I could be doing in that time as well. But karma brings it back around, so don't worry, I get mine. But yeah, you start having bigger goals, so then they have bigger costs, and so then you have to solve those things. Like my podcast to run costs me more than the rent. So people worry about what rent costs. I'm like, well, my goals to help 100,000 Kiwis get better at their finances don't allow me to care too much about the cost of rent. It would be different if I'm like hiring a $8,000 a week apartment. Then yeah, I'm outside of my means and being silly. And you've got to try and like stay within your means as well. But you've got to make sure, like if you think about it, the government take from you straight away, so they tax you. The big corporates do, like the power companies, the telcos, etc. They all got you on direct debit. ACC, KiwiSaver, like they're all taking. The bank, of course. Oh, what's the day you get paid? We'll align your mortgage with the day that you get paid. Oh, I wonder why. So that they get theirs, and then okay, now you're left with this bit. Good luck. See how you go. Oh, you should be investing. You should be thinking about things. So once I started to see that, I'm like, man, I need to use these tactics. I need to be fucking deploying cash straight away so that I've taken care of future Luke, and then I've got to live off of the remainder. And so that 40% straight aside, live off the 60 really taught me to do that a bit better too. Anyway, I don't want these videos to go too long. I can talk as you've picked up, but we're nearly at 15 minutes, and I was going to try and keep that at 10 minutes. But yeah, how do I structure my finances? I don't, hopefully that answers the question in some way, but I've given you so much to think about there. But I promise you, if you're not what you should do, or I don't like telling people what they should do, one thing that's really helped me is to track what money I have coming in, what money I have going out, what's left over, be deliberate with where I'm allocating that, and tidy up the expenses, go back to how do I grow my income, how do I make more, and then every month stack a balance sheet. So in business, we have assets minus liabilities equals equity. So assets minus liabilities in an individual equals net worth. That's your net worth. Assets, so your house, etc., bank accounts, KiwiSaver, shares, any assets you have, minus your liabilities, debt, and things like that. Well, basically debt and things that you owe. So what do you own versus what do you owe? That gives you your net worth. And you want to track that, and you want to do that monthly. And that brings your money back to your mind every single month. And you want to track that growth. Now, I said in a recent video that I had a client, here we are at 5 minutes, 15 minutes 30, I'm sorry guys, that paid off 100 grand worth of debt, and they're like, oh, I didn't really make any progress this year. I'm like, yo, you know how hard it is to clear 100 grand worth of debt? You know how hard it is to save $100,000? I'm like, let's celebrate this. So you want to track your progress as well, and you want to do that via tracking your net worth. There is a spreadsheet in week 2 of Money Mail. If you're not doing it, honestly, it will transform your life. Everybody who does it consistently over 18 months, that's probably how long it will take to really get in the groove of it. They're like, wow, this is a game changer. I can't believe I didn't do it sooner. Every NZX listed company, every company that you fucking froth over investing into in America, they all run a profit and loss and a balance sheet. I wonder why. And they all have management reporting, and they're all asked to report on that all the time. They all have boards of directors that say, give me the profit and loss, give me the balance sheet. And you as an individual and me, we don't get taught to do it. Why not? I don't know, but now I've taught you to do it. You have to take action. Go and get it done.